Folks, today's recipe is chicken fried chicken. You heard me. Wait till you see how this is made. It's delicious and it's worth your time. Good morning. Today I'm making chicken fried chicken. Now, chicken fried chicken. What's chicken fried chicken? All right. Hey, in the South we name things in weird ways sometimes. All right. And so you come to Texas and you hear the term chicken fried and they put the word steak after it. Well, that means they take beef and they batter it in a way and fry it in a way that chicken is commonly done. All right, so basically it's a dry batter technique. And that's where the term comes from. It's the same technique that we use for frying chicken. And so we use it on a steak and then we call that a chicken fried steak. Or in this case, today we're using chicken. So, since it is a boneless chicken and I'm going to be preparing it in a special way, we now call that chicken fried chicken. So, we have a chicken cutlet that we're changing up a bit. We're going to season it the right way. We're going to batter it a special way. And we're going to get into making some of the most delicious food that you're ever going to get a chance to eat. I'm looking forward to today's meal because this is such good food. If you've never done a chicken fried chicken recipe before, you've missed out. And today, I'm going to give you one that is so spectacular. The seasoning I'm going to use, we're going to season it really heavy. And believe it or not, when it comes to frying, you can get away with doing this because the oils in certain seasonings simply wash out when you're frying. So very little of it remains behind, and it takes a lot of seasoning to get the right effect. And also on this battering technique, I'm going to show you a technique that I actually learned from a guy named Paul Prudhomme. He was a chef in Louisiana, and I learned his technique for chicken battering, the way he would do chicken in his restaurant, that people raved about. They always raved about how crispy and crunchy and wonderful his batter was. And I'm going to teach you that today. So the same way I learned it, I want to teach it to you and show you a great recipe that's not hard to pull off. It's fun to make, and if you do it the right way, it is flat delicious. And so you'll know with this, we're going to do some cream gravy also, and I'll probably put a side vegetable with it, who knows what. Let's get in the kitchen and let me show you how to do chicken fried chicken. Come on. Okay, I'm going to get my oil into my pan right now. Now I'm going to pour in enough oil to give me about 3/4 of an inch to an inch in the bottom. You see, it's about a 1/2 inch right there. So I'm going to add a little more to that. That way I have a good amount to fry in. Alrighty, a little more in there. Alright, now that's more than enough. I've got 1 inch of oil going on. Now folks, don't forget, get that thermometer right down there into your pot. You can't use it unless it's in there, and you're going to need it on this particular recipe. We'll be frying at 325 degrees. Now folks, today what we're going to be cooking with, starting on the far side over here, this is for our cream gravy. I've got 2 cups of heavy cream here, and we got some butter and flour, and that's going to make a beautiful cream gravy for us. The batter for this is going to be a combination of eggs, milk, and flour, and I'm going to show you a neat way of doing this. If you're thinking, I would rather have buttermilk, you can substitute buttermilk for what I'm doing with the eggs and milk here. But you need to try this at least once because the method I'm going to show is really cool and it gives a very special crust. Over here I have some spices, my black pepper, cayenne pepper, garlic powder, and salt. And I'm going to be using boneless, skinless chicken breast to do this with. Now folks, it's time that I take care of flattening out my chicken, and I have my cutlet here in a plastic bag. I do this way on purpose. It's easier. The chicken spreads out on the plastic really nice and easy. It doesn't make a mess, and there's nothing to clean up. You just take your cutlet and go ahead and season it after that. So that's what I'm going to do now is flatten this thing out.
There we go. Now it's nice and thin. You've noticed it's more than double in size, and you don't have to get it any thinner than this. Also, it gets kind of broken on the edges past this, so if it does that a little bit, don't let it worry you. This is going to be battered up and you won't see any of that. So here it is, pounded out, easier than any other way. Now we'll season it. It's time for us to go ahead and season up this breast. My meat tore a little bit right here in the middle, but again, guess what, folks? We're not losing sleep over that because it gets battered, okay? So you'll know, when it comes to seasoning, this is kind of different than other things. Now, if you'll notice, I'm using the same amount of salt I would normally use if I were seasoning this to be, oh, let's say grilled, okay? No different. However, when it comes to the other seasonings, this stuff, well, it's a little different. A little heavier on the black pepper. Okay, that's pretty heavy. And I'm going to do the other side just as much, so it might be too much if you were grilling this. However, we're not grilling, we're deep frying. Remember that. Now, a little bit of our garlic powder. Just gently, come on, there we go. Okay, and for the cayenne. Now, this might take you back a little bit, what I'm about to do here. You might be thinking, wow, I can't have it that spicy. I can't have spicy foods that spicy. Folks, let me tell you something. This isn't going to be that spicy when it's done. Now, let's take a look at what I'm talking about here.
Wow. Lots and lots of spice goes on that cutlet. I mean, you look at that, that's a tremendous amount. The only thing that we didn't go overboard about was the salt. The salt, just a normal amount of salt, but wow, that much cayenne? Really? Yeah, really. Don't be afraid of this, and let me explain why it won't burn your mouth. What we're doing is we're diluting, okay? If what makes the spice hot is an oil, when you fry it in oil, the oil from the spice becomes diluted by the oil that you're frying in. In other words, it washes out, plain and simple. So 95%, probably somewhere in that neighborhood, around 90, I'm guessing to 95% of the heat in all of that cayenne gets washed out. You're going to have spicy chicken, yes. It's going to be a little warm to the palate, but it's not going to burn your mouth, even though we've used a ridiculous amount. Now, if you were baking and you used that much cayenne, you're in for a mouth-burning treat, I'm telling you now. But when you're deep frying, the rules change. It's a whole different thing. Give this a shot. Do not be afraid of that spice. Go ahead and use that spice. Use it just like I have. Go heavy on there. And then when you batter it up and you fry it, the heat washes out, the flavor stays behind, and you end up with this incredible tasting cutlet. It's good.
Now folks, I have my eggs here. I'm going to break those yolks and just beat that. Isn't that easy? Now let's pour in that milk. There we have it. Our batter is ready. In the event you're wondering, why did I not season the batter? Did you not happen to take a look at that chicken a minute ago? Yeah, it's seasoned, trust me. And what's cool about this is the flavors from that chicken, as that is being diluted by the oil, is going to wash through the batter, flavoring the batter, as well as washing out of the whole thing. So folks, don't be afraid of your batter like this and don't think you're not seasoning it. You are. The seasoning is just entering at a different time. Okay? That's how that works. Now, I've got all this ready. I'm going to put my chicken in my flour and get it dusted. So if you're going to do this kind of this type of battering, this is the way I recommend doing it, and I do this on purpose. When you have a large bowl with your flour in there, all you have to do is simply shake it from side to side. There it is. Folks, battering doesn't get easier than this, okay? Now I put this into my egg and reflour it, and I'm going to do that twice before putting it in the oil, and that gives me the most remarkable batter. If you're wondering why I flour it first, well, the whole idea is to build a thick crust here. And if I start with some flour, it gives more, or it gives substance for the egg to soak into. So that egg and milk soaks into that flour a little bit, then we put more flour on it and get more egg and milk to soak into it, and then more flour on that, and then we have a thick, thick crust that comes out beautiful when it's cooked up. Now that I have my flour on the outside of this cutlet, I'm going to shake off any excess. I want to drop it right down, move this over, right down into this. Get it nice and wet. And we just kind of go back and forth with this, all right? Over to the flour, give it a shake, which covers it up. There we are. I'm going to go ahead for the moment right now. We're going to go ahead and get the second layer on there. So you've just seen a full layer of batter already applied. Pardon my bowls, they're noisy. There we go. Yeah. See, that shaking method works so well for this. It covers the cutlet easy. Having some fun. All right, now we're ready to go in the oil with this. My oil is almost at the right temperature. Let me check here. Yep, we're coming up over 250. I do recommend that we have something to put that on once it comes out of the oil. I'm going to use a pan rack. And you can put a pan rack on a pan. You can put a pan, you can put a pan rack on a plate. Whatever combination you want to do. But what this does is it allows the fried item to drip off. You can use paper towels also, but I find that that gets steam underneath it and you lose some of that crispy quality. The pan rack prevents that from happening. All right, it is time to go ahead and get this cooked up. Now, when I put this in my oil, I want to lay it in there away from me, okay? So, like this. There we go. You just let it do its thing, folks. That is going to come out beautiful in a short time. But what we need to turn our attention to now is right down here. That is going to be time for the cream gravy, all right? Now, I need to turn some heat on underneath that butter and get it melted. Now that I have my butter melted, I'm going to sprinkle in some of my flour and stir that in. I still have that flame going on underneath there. Now, I'm not going to put in all of this 1/4 of a cup. I'm going to use a little over 1/8 of a cup. There we go. Now this is important. Allow your roux to cook. What I've made here is a roux. And there's different ways of doing roux. Sometimes they're thick and pasty. Sometimes they're like this and kind of foamy and fluffy. And I like this because it's very, very, well, it's flexible. It's versatile and it's hard to mess this one up. Let's take a look at that meat. Sounds good. Oh yeah, look at that. Needs a little more time, needs to be a bit darker. My flour roux, I'm going to cook this until it's the color of a peanut. In other words, it needs to be slightly tan. And what that's doing is it's cooking off that raw flour flavor and incorporating that butter flavor into the flour, so it just kind of puts flour in the background and you don't even taste it. Now, let's turn our attention over here. Cook this again. Looky there, a beautiful golden brown. Let's take a look at that butter. It's coming right along. And this is a patience thing. The minute the butter is the right color, we're ready for our cream. And after that, it gets really good. Oh, folks, look at that. Remember when I said slightly tan, almost like a peanut? Looky there, what do we got? It's almost the color of a peanut, isn't it? Isn't that really cool? Now, at this point, this gets easy. Quickly and all at once with the cream. Just whisk this together nicely. When that comes to temperature, and it won't take but a moment. And this is on a low flame, folks, but it doesn't take it long. Now I'm going to add some salt. There we go. And plenty of black pepper. I might add a little more than that too. Now folks, here's the secret ingredient. Same thing we used on our chicken. Let's put a little bit of cayenne down in here. Not much, all right? 1/4 teaspoon is a lot when it comes to this. So where we went heavy on the chicken, because we're frying it, this is gravy. It's a different story. Isn't that good looking? The whole thing. And as you've seen, I usually like to clean up as I go. Smart thing to do, folks. All right, it's starting to thicken. And this is done. Once you get that beautiful golden brown nice and deep like that on both sides, you're there, folks. We have a beautiful chicken fried chicken right there. Oh yeah. There we go, starting to steam. And now that thickening is happening, folks. Getting a good cream gravy right here. As with all things in life, when you make something like this, get a little taste of it, okay? This also allows you to see how well your gravy's coating, how thick it is, right there. Isn't that nice? Oh, it's got that beautiful sweet taste. Extremely buttery. That's good, folks. See how easy it is when you use a roux that is foamy like that? How fast you can get the liquid in there, just whisk it together, and bam, next thing you know, you have got a fantastic sauce, and you didn't have to work yourself to death over it, folks. It's just that simple. Now I'm going to bring this to where it just starts to bubble. And the truth of the matter is you don't have to cook it past this point. The part of this that needed to be cooked was that flour, okay? And that's what we did. We cooked that flour first thing. The rest of it is just enjoy, okay? The cream, once it's hot enough and it has thickened up with that flour, like it has done now, it's done. The quantity of everything that I have used today, and so you'll know this recipe is really good for 2 to 3 of these cutlets, all right? If you want more, you're probably going to have to increase a little of your batter there, so be prepared for that. Also, you can probably stretch your cream gravy that far, but it's not going to be as much per steak, so you might want to increase that a little bit if you're going to go up to 3 cutlets or more. Anyway, this recipe, for each cutlet, of course, you've seen how we season that, and that's seasoned heavily with the garlic, cayenne, and black pepper, lightly with the salt. Our ingredients over here, quantities, was 3 eggs, 1 cup of whole milk, and a couple of cups of flour back there. And then over here I used 2 cups of whole heavy cream, 6 tablespoons of the butter, and 1/4 cup, but no more than that, of flour. That'll be probably a bit too much. We can cut back on that some to about 1/8 cup to about halfway up to 1/4. Yeah, you know, roughly that. So add a couple extra tablespoons. All right, we have come to one of my favorite segments, which is plating it all up. Get my little ladle here. Of course, the nice thing about a really crunchy batter like the one I just did, the really cool thing about it is it stands up to gravy, okay? There we go. And I'm thinking I'm just going to part the seas right here, right down the middle, from one side to the other. Isn't that beautiful? Oh yeah. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is chicken fried chicken. Yeah. It's good stuff. What looked like too much spice before is now almost not enough. It's funny how that works. When you're frying, it really, really changes the whole thing, all right? And you lose a lot of that oil, but it flavors the batter that way, and everything becomes just a little more calm and inviting. So please, please give this a try. Thank you for watching. If you haven't done so, please look in the description box. There's a lot of links there. It's going to teach you a little bit more about me, what I'm up to, what I do, and what this is all about. Take a look down there. Thank you for watching Texas Cooking Today. And folks, please have a good day. Bye-bye.